Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. We are broadcasting from 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley, and we are broadcasting from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different topic. And our goal is to educate and inspire and answer your questions. And I put out a call tonight for some people to make some suggestions of what they would like me to talk about tonight. And thank you to everyone who responded. That was really fantastic. And I got some really great suggestions. And the first one was actually from Natasha. And Natasha said, I've been feeling super intense energy since January the 1st, 2020. What is going on? Because I usually feel calm and peaceful, but it's been an absolute roller coaster ride. And I've noticed that lots of other people are struggling too. And I thought, that's a fantastic question. So the theme, that's going to be the theme of the show, although we will get to answer the questions for the other people that posted questions as well towards the end. But tonight I'm going to talk about coping with the energy shifts in 2020. Now, I remember at the start of 2019 thinking, what a roller coaster ride of energy that we were on in 2019 at the beginning of the year. And now it's a year later and it feels even more intense. And there's some trends that I've been noticing the last few months. And I thought that I'd share them with you. I do readings of a lot of people, so I get to see a lot of energy fields, and there've been some common themes. And you might find that you identify with one or even all of them. And but one thing I would say is, in general, the energy swings are even more frequent, faster, more intense. So it's if the wave was going like this, now it's going like this. So very, very intense frequency shifts that we are going through. So, like I said, in no particular order, these are some common themes that I've noticed in the people that I've been doing psychic consults for. Number one, physical body symptoms. And actually, I noticed the bulk of these came in December, but it's continuing into January. So physical body symptoms, aches and pains, and some rashes that are persistent, or they follow a pattern of intensity and then relief. Intensity and then relief. Actually, the other one, heart palpitations and headaches. I had a lot of clients in December who had like a powerfully intense pain somewhere in the body. So for some people it was the shoulder, for some people it was the elbow, for some people it was the leg, the ankle, the foot. A lot going on in people's joints. And also headaches, pressure in the head, and some rashes as well. And what was very, very curious about this energy pattern was that most of them actually commented that they would be feeling perfectly all right one minute, and then the next minute this really intense pain would happen to the degree that they were completely incapacitated. So if it was in their ankle, they couldn't walk, or if it was in their shoulder, they couldn't lift their arm. And so This was a really common trend. You might identify if you've been having some aches and pains and different symptoms like that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's going on and sum it all up at the end. But in general, in all of the cases of these people that came to me, they were purging old energy. So it wasn't like they'd got some new terrible affliction. It was just, there was energy coming out. And because they were in resistance to the energy coming out, they were experiencing it as pain. And it was coming out in bursts, so building up, hurting, bursting out, getting some relief, building up, hurting, bursting out, and getting some relief. So that's the first symptom of the energy shifts that I have noticed. And if you're just tuning in to the show, tonight we're talking about coping with the energy shifts in 2020. And I'm sharing some of my insights and observations of what I've seen amongst people that have come to me for some assistance. And number one was some physical symptoms in the physical body. Now, the next one, and this has shown up really intensely this year, 2020. It showed up really intensely for the month of January. It's still going on. And that's, people have been reporting strong waves of emotion, emotional waves, hitting them intensely, sometimes like a freight train, anger, intense anger, deep sadness, grief, whatever it is, that people have been having these strong waves of emotion come up. And this is also, in my opinion and my observation, a purging of old emotional patterns. And the trick here is, so long as you don't resist these emotions, they flow through you like the waves of energy that they are, and they will shift more rapidly. A bit like those physical symptoms, that we're shifting rapidly. But if you resist the emotions, they will stay longer. If you try to figure them out, they will stay longer. If you try to associate them with the current circumstances of your life and say, I'm angry because of you, or I'm sad because of this, then they can cause havoc in your relationships and your ability to function. And so they're not necessarily related to anything at all in your present time reality, apart from the fact that you're healing and purging and letting go. Now, number 3, people's beliefs are being challenged. And so all of a sudden, you're saying something that you believed in for a long time, suddenly you're questioning it. It doesn't feel right anymore. So belief frameworks that got you this far are suddenly holding you back. Something that was good for you and helping you and spurring you along, all of a sudden it's becoming an impediment, it's becoming a block. And you're being challenged to let something that you thought you'd never let go, to let it go. And I'm seeing a lot of people sort of wobbling back and forth between questioning the new energy, which is so new, they don't recognize it because it's completely new, it's something they've never experienced before, and then trying to turn back to the old energy, but that doesn't feel right either. So people wobbling in between the new me and the old me. And then this letting go, it could involve letting go of old relationships that are not working, or changing your relationships so they can function in the new energy. So this, especially the theme I've seen here, and this has shown up a lot in January, but really it was showing up a lot the whole of last year, but very intensely this last month, letting go of responsibility for other people. So really leaving other people to cope with their own creations instead of trying to save them, and letting go of any patterns of self-sacrifice where you're pouring your energy into looking after other people when in reality they have their own energy for that, and your energy is meant to support you in your life creations. So, and that's a tough one for a lot of people, and a tough one for all the healers and light workers out there who that's their modus operandi. Helping other people, and all of a sudden there's something coming up that's saying, I can't continue to do this. And more about that in a moment. And then the other thing that I have noticed is, and I've sort of labeled this, separating yourself from mass unconsciousness. So whether you're having a lot of astral stuff coming up, maybe nightmarish dream experiences, or revisiting old scenarios in your dreams, or just a general rising up above the collective unconscious, so clearing. It's sort of like, you can think of the planet has a web or a cloud of human consciousness around it, and there's a layer of conscious, awake and aware consciousness, and then there's a layer of sort of dark, heavy unconsciousness. And I'm seeing people really, it's like the analogy of oil and water. Oil floats to the and sits on the top of water, and it's like the more awakened ones are rising up like the oil and aiming to stay up, where instead of this dipping down into the unconscious or being pulled down into the unconscious, or going down there, in the attempt to save other people from their unconsciousness, it's now, no, my rightful place and position is in this higher consciousness, this higher frequency layer of energy. And so there's a process going on there of people who are choosing the dark, leaving them to it. People who are choosing the light, embracing the light, because the energy is so polarized. It's extreme. It's more extreme than ever before. So, I'm just seeing this general move to acknowledge where you stand and make a choice. And then, just to continue this theme, because we've talked about, well, how are people, what's coming up on a physical level, what's coming up on an emotional level, what's coming up on a mental level, and so spiritually speaking, I've seen, and I'm just going to cover the last 3 months, November, December, January. I've seen energy changing in a few ways, and this is what I've observed. So November 2019, I'm going to use the analogy of a rocket ship. I saw in so many people's energy, it's like they were taking off from the old planet, just like a rocket ship takes off out of the atmosphere, and dropping their old energy like a rocket drops its fuel tanks when it doesn't need them anymore. So you've seen those NASA rockets take off, and they have these huge fuel tanks, which are heavy and dense, but they give them the propulsion to get them out of the atmosphere. And then when they're empty, they just drop them. And it felt like we had traveled very far on the old energy. And the old energy is like these hefty fuel tanks that we've been carrying around. And that old energy, those old energy patterns, old experiences, old karma, old beliefs, behavior patterns, and all of that, they are kind of, they helped us get to the level of consciousness we've gotten to. And now it's like an outmoded form of transport, and we've cleared the atmosphere and we're dropping them off. So I saw so many people in November with that analogy, that they were just like a rocket ship taking off, leaving the old planetary energy behind, dropping off how they journeyed through the old planetary energy through these analogous fuel tanks. And then come December, the trend shifted a little bit. And then what I was observing was two of everything. So pretty much every person I read, there was the old version and the new version. The old energy person that was situated in the energy of the old planet, the old Earth, and the new energy and the new person that was attempting to align itself with the new planetary vibration. So, and I also, as I was observing this in people, saw two versions of the planet as well. One, the old energy, the old Earth, and the other one, the new Earth, the new energy, the new higher vibration planet. And so the trend in December was kind of like, I called it like the doppelganger effect. There was two of us and we were trying to establish ourselves more firmly in the new energy. And we had this little wobble going on, like, I don't feel quite right here, you know, because we were wobbling back and forth between the old energy and the new energy. And we were saying the new energy it feels peculiar because it's so new. It's something I've never experienced before. And I'm questioning it because I've just got no reference point for it. But yet when I try to go back to the way it was before, that really doesn't feel right either. And so we were doing this wobble, this dance between the old me and the new me. And we're still doing that dance. We're still doing that dance now, but I'm finding, at least for some people, it's at least the ones that were going through that in December, it's starting to settle down a little bit. And then let's talk about January. And the analogy I'm going to use for the energy of January is the ocean waves, because we're being hit with these intense energy waves. And this is really what is stimulating all of these emotional releases that I was talking about before. And so it's like we're being hit with these energy waves. And as the energy waves flow through us, just like the waves of the ocean, they kind of have a cleansing effect. They kind of have a clearing effect. It's inviting us to bring up all of this old stuff and release it. And the other thing in January is, it seems to me as well, when it goes along with the emotional shift that we're all experiencing, is I'm seeing heart openings. I'm seeing sort of massive heart chakra openings. And it's the idea of moving into the Christ consciousness. And what is the Christ consciousness? Unconditional love. It's love, acceptance, compassion. That's what it is. And so we're letting go of the old emotional energies, the old emotional energy patterns that have kept us in the lower energy. And we're opening to the higher vibrations of love, compassion, acceptance, and all of those things. So I've talked a fair bit here about the energy coming into 2020 and shifting into the energy vibrations that we're feeling this year. So listeners, you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and we are going to go to a commercial break. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. And we've got a very cool show this evening, and it was stimulated by one of our listeners, Natasha, who said that she's been experiencing intense emotional ups and downs in January. She'd noticed that other people have been having the same thing, and she wondered what was going on. So in part one of the show, we're talking all about these energy shifts that we're all going through. And perhaps I should say, because I don't think I said it, that, you know, that the planet is going through a huge energy shift. We're on the surface of the planet, so of course we're all going through this huge energy shift too. And it's been going on for a long time, but it's accelerating, and it's bringing things to the surface on an emotional, mental, physical, spiritual level. We're all changing very, very rapidly. And it's so intense, and sometimes it feels disturbing to the body. It feels disturbing emotionally, and it feels disturbing in a physical way as well. And one of the things I talked about in the first part of the show is not to resist. It's like the more you resist, the more stuck you will be, the less easily you will flow through the shifts and the changes. And I know that's really hard, not to resist when something doesn't feel quite right. But I mean, in some ways, it's about having faith that we're here, we chose to be here, we're taking this ride on on this edge of consciousness expansion, and we wanted this, and so we've forgotten that. So let go of resistance. The other thing is connect to the new energy, the new earth, the new alignment. So you could do that by spending time in nature. You could do that by grounding to the earth. Now, we might have time to do a short meditation. Let's see how things go, but there is a free meditation on my website, on drlesliephillips.com, under free stuff. There is a downloadable meditation that will teach you to ground. So connect to the planet, because the planet is a master of balance, and your body is made of earth energy anyway. And so the more you connect to the earth, welcome in the energy of the earth, then the more it can assist you in your personal transformation. Number 2, stay in present time. Be in the now. Be in the now. Because you're in this rapid trajectory kind of between the past and the future, right? And you're really on a massive, massive scale letting go of the old you. And so, you know, like I said, there's this wobble that people have been doing into the past and back, into the past and back. And it's like, let go of the past, be in present time. And how can you be in present time? Grounding helps you. But also, if you focus on all those mindfulness exercises, connecting with your body, being aware of the body, the physical body is only ever right here, right now. You can be in the past, you can be in the future, you can be on a different planet if you want with your consciousness, but your body is always right here, right now. So if you focus your conscious awareness in on the body, then you will be in present time. And the more intensely you can focus yourself into the present moment, then the less wobbly and the less scary and the less depressing, and it makes it a much easier ride. Okay, so number 3, what we can do, I think it's really, really helpful to talk to your body. And let me explain where I'm coming from, because you're like, talk to my body? What does that mean? Because you're not your body. Your body is your vehicle. It is your vessel. It is carrying your consciousness through this life experience, but it does have a consciousness of its own, which is in some ways separate from you, the spiritual consciousness. And so it really helps to build a strong relationship with your body, and so that it's going to understand and be your supportive partner in going through this. So talk to the body. If you're experiencing symptoms in your body of a physical nature, or emotional stuff, or mental stuff, all the things we talked about in the first part of the show, then explain, give your body your perspective, the spiritual perspective about what's happening. It's like you're the parent here, the body's the child. So take charge and comfort your child. Help it understand that it's fine. And on that note, another point I was going to make was, so ask your body, what does it need from you in order to cope? And listen, because maybe it needs more sleep, because there's huge changes going on at a cellular level. And it's purging old energy. Maybe it needs more recovery time. Or maybe it wants different food, different diet, more exercise, less exercise. Maybe, it wants to go for a swim, or wants to soak in a salt bath. So find out what your body needs and make a commitment to give some of those things to the body to make it easier on the body. And then I'll mention this already in the first part of the show. Relax. Be in a state of flow. Be like the reed that bends in the wind. That's a biblical reference, but you know how the grass, long grass, if it's windy, it bends, but it doesn't break. It copes with that energy coming at it, with that force coming. If it was resistant and didn't bend, it would be more inclined to break. So be like that flexible grass, and be non-resistant. If you resist, the energy sticks, it lasts for longer, and it will cause us more problems. So be non-resistant. And you can imagine that you're like a blade of grass, or the leaves rustling in the tree. Or imagine that you're like the invisible man or the invisible woman, and the energy waves are just going to pass through you without doing anything. All right, so here's some more tips about coping with the energy shifts this year. If you've got the emotional symptom coming up, the emotional way, and I know I think January was very intense for that. It can be tempting to want to attach it to something. I'm feeling intensely sad right now. Why am I feeling sad? Or I'm feeling angry, and who's triggered this? And it's not that at all. It's just you are purging, you are releasing. And of course, there might be some things that are connected to the present time circumstances, but I'm saying in general, this increased intensity of emotional stuff coming up is because you're purging old emotional patterns. All right, and then similar thing, if it's more mental for you, or your belief systems are being challenged, and the old framework that you were operating from all of a sudden doesn't work anymore. And it could be ways of dealing with stuff, an old spiritual belief system, or it can be thoughts that are sort of coming in from nowhere and seeming really important. And again, it's like, don't grab hold of them. Let it, whatever's wanting to come up and drift away, let it come up and drift away. Just allow. Okay, I think we're on to about number 8. Here's a simple one we can all do. Just breathe. Relax, release, breathe. Breathe is like I'm breathing in the new version of myself. I'm breathing in my place in the new earth. I'm breathing out the old version of myself. I'm breathing out the old earth. I'm breathing in to energize my body and relax my body. I'm breathing out to let go of the disturbances that I'm experiencing in my body. Now, the next one, look, you're going through it, so is everybody else. And, you're watching this podcast, so you're one of the ones who's got some more tools. But there's so many people out there that don't have a clue why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. And it's very, can be very volatile and difficult. And so the next tip is just give people space and be forgiving. And also, circling back to what I said in the first part, what I'm observing is that there's this huge thing of the light workers to let go of responsibility for others, right? Okay, they're on their own journey, having their own version of this experience. It's not your job to go and rescue them. It's not your job to divert your energy from your own growth to trying to save the other people. And this is an old pattern of all the light workers, to just be like the wounded healer, the self-sacrificing martyr. And it's kind of make or break time. It really is. Choose myself, choose the light. And that's not selfish. That's not selfish, but the world is becoming more polarized. All right, and then finally, compassion. Compassion for yourself and what you're going through, and compassion for other people as well. So that was my top 10 tips for what we can do to cope with all of the stuff we were talking about in the first part of the show. And I think that there's a little bit of time to do a short meditation, just like a 5-minute meditation. So let's do a short meditation. And I'm going to invite you all, so long as you're not driving, to sit with your feet flat on the floor, your hands resting in your lap, and take a deep breath in. And breathe in the new you. And take a deep breath out and let go of all of the old energies. Close your eyes and turn within and continue breathing in, refreshing yourself, rejuvenating yourself, aligning yourself with the new planetary energies, and breathing out to release the old. And let's stabilize ourselves in the new energy. So be aware of an energy center near the base of your spine. And create a flow of energy that goes to the center of the new earth. So connecting to Gaia, the new vibrational frequency of Gaia, the new center of Gaia, sending down this stabilizing grounding cord to the center of the planet. So connecting yourself to the earth and stabilizing your energy. And using this flow of energy from the first chakra to release the old patterns. And using the anchoring of the grounding to pull you into the physical body. And using that and the breath to help you be in the present moment. And what we're going to do now is we're going to consciously circulate the energy of the new earth through our energy systems. So I want you to be aware of the arches of your feet and allow the energy centers in the arches of your feet to relax and open. A bit like a flower opens to the sun. Just allow them to gently unfurl and open. And as they open, invite the energy of planet Earth to flow in through those feet chakras and to flow up energy channels in your legs and then into that first chakra and down the grounding cord. So you're really anchoring yourself in the earth energy. You're releasing down the grounding cord and you're inviting in the new earth energy in through the feet chakras and up the legs. And using that as a way of anchoring yourself in the present moment, anchoring yourself in your physical body. Now, it's just a short meditation, and I'm going to go to a break. And if you would like to continue, please do. But practice that. Practice grounding and running the energy of the new earth through your system, because it will help upgrade your system. It will help balance your system. It will help your physical body and all your cells to shift, and it will help you release and let go as well. All right, so if you want to, you can open your eyes and come back into the room. And I have to go for another break. I'll be back after these short messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. Tonight's show has been coping with the new energy. The earth is shifting, we are shifting. It's bringing up a lot of changes, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. How do we cope? That's what we've been talking about. And in the second part of the show, we had some tips and a short meditation to help us with all of that. So now, in the final part of the show, I am going to respond to listeners' questions. And so I've got quite a few questions here already. And one of them's from Brianna. And Brianna asks, can we develop the ability to physically see the color vibrations of people's auras with our physical eyes? Does it depend on the person and their spiritual gifts? And then she says she loves the show. Well, thanks, Brianna. And there's one thing that jumps out at me there about how you phrased your question. You used the word physically and physical. Can we see auras with our physical eyes? And can we physically see auras with our physical eyes? So here's my take on that. The short answer is no. But let me explain what I mean. Clairvoyance, which means clear seeing, is the psychic ability to see energy, including energy fields such as the auric field. It is not a physical sense. It is a spiritual sense. So your physical eyes are designed to help you navigate the physical world, and they see within the frequency bands appropriate for the energies here in the physical world. Now, your third eye, which is at the center of your sixth chakra, allows you to see as spirit, right? The sixth chakra channels clairvoyance. This is a spiritual sense. Okay, and so you can develop the ability to see the color vibrations of people's auras. But the way to do it is by developing your spiritual sight, your spiritual vision. Now, can sometimes, let's ask it in a different way. Do you have to have your eyes open, closed to do that? And usually when people are training, or when I'm training people, I'm getting them to close their eyes so that they can tune out the intense and overwhelming vibrations of the physical world and start to tune in to the more subtle vibrations of the spiritual world. So when we're training, it's kind of helpful to actually tune out all that physical stuff. But, you know, and I would say, like, when with my eyes open, I can see as spirit and I can see physically. And it's kind of like I'm seeing two different ways at the same time. There's an overlay of, you know, the physical and the non-physical. So I hope that answers your question, or starts to answer your question. I mean, people do have experiences where they're looking at, I don't know, a mountain at sunset, and they see almost like an energy field hugging the mountain or the trees, or a speaker, and they start to see the energy field, and their eyes are open while they're doing it. But that's just the brain translating and combining the information that's coming in through the spiritual system together with the physical system, in my opinion. All right, Brianna, so I hope that helps you. And I do have a course on developing clairvoyance, and the Unlock Your Intuition course, which I always recommend as being the first one that you take, does a lot around using your clairvoyance as well. Okay, so we've got a few questions from Jess, and she also says she loves the show. She's been listening to all of the old shows and she loves them. Yeah, you know, we've been doing the show for 4.5 years, approximately. We've got 227 episodes, and it's all about spiritual stuff. Like, any question you might have and you can think of, you can go search in the podcast and you can probably find something. So to go to the podcast, you go to drlesliephillips.com/category/podcast. But there's all sorts of links on there that will just navigate you to it. Okay. Yeah, no, and thanks for all the feedback, folks. That I'm glad you're enjoying it, and it's amazing for me to look back at all of that enormous body of information that's now been built up. So Jess asked us a few questions. First one, I've begun reading Quantum Healing. It's not a book I've read, but she says, is this practice of directing focus on energy the same as connecting with the Earth's energy? So as I've been focusing, oh no, sorry, that's an extra part, a different question. But she's asking, is quantum healing the same as connecting with Earth energy? And I would say no, although you might connect with the Earth energy while you're doing the healing process. I'll go into trance a little bit and just take a look specifically for you, but because I don't know the specific modality quantum healing that you're talking about, but very often the quantum healing techniques are relating to interacting with the quantum field and exchanging one choice from another from the quantum field. So let's say I've got a pain in my elbow. I use quantum healing to shift my elbow into a healthy elbow by selecting a version of me in the quantum field that has a healthy elbow, for example. So I think the answer is it's not the same as connecting with the Earth energy, but connecting with the Earth energy is really important and helpful in all healing processes, because it helps you stay in sync with the planet. It helps you to soothe and heal your physical body and bring your body into balance. All right, so there's a few more questions from Jess. I'm going to keep my eye on the feed in Facebook in case anything else is coming through there. So she says, she's been taking some of the development courses. So some of you might not understand the questions, but I'll do my best to explain. So she asks, can you create and destroy if you can't visualize? So creating and destroying is an energy technique that I teach people. And it uses the clairvoyance. It uses creating thought forms. It uses manipulating energy, creating things with energy, and letting things go with energy. And actually, it relates to what we've been talking about in this show, because that's exactly what we've been talking about in this show. We've been saying we're creating a new version of ourselves and letting go of an old version of ourselves. The Earth's creating a new version of herself and letting go of an old version of herself. And so this is happening through all the natural cycles of growth and change that we're always going through. And the technique that Jess has been learning from me is how to do it consciously. And anyway, so to answer your question, can you create and destroy if you can't visualize? Yes. So instead of visualizing, know that you're doing it. Know that you're creating. Know that you're letting go. Feel that you're creating. Feel that you're letting go. So if you're stronger on your knowingness, then, that's fine. It doesn't mean you're not doing it if you're for some reason thinking you can't see what you're doing with your clairvoyance. All right, and next question. I've had red squares in my third eye, and I've once had numbers in my third eye when I was late to wake for a flight. 333 in red across my forehead, but I can't seem to control it. Okay, let's take a look. The first thing that comes up to say as a general thing is the difference between, let's see if we can, here's a good analogy. A baby, I might be wrong here because I've not had a baby, but I'm imagining this. I don't think they can focus their eyes very well, their physical eyes, when they're first come into the world, and then they learn to focus their eyes, and they learn to gaze and direct their eyes and decide consciously what they're going to look at. So your psychic vision, your clairvoyance is a bit like that. And it seems to me that your clairvoyance is a bit like a baby waking up to it, and it's not focused at the moment. It's sort of like the eyes darting all over the place at random. But you can learn to focus it. You can learn to control it. One of the main things is being in the center of your head and starting to work with projecting images onto that mental image screen, which you must be taking the clairvoyance course, and I'm sure that that's in it. So the other thing is just to say, practice, 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 don't give up, and you can release any blocks that you're encountering down your grounding cord. She's also talking about seeing a symbol of a scroll or trying to see a flower or a number. And so clairvoyance allows us to see energy like the auric field. It allows us to see beings without physical bodies like our guides. It also allows us to see structured units of electromagnetic energy, which are thought forms and look like symbols, right? So when I'm reading somebody, I'm looking at their energy field and I see symbols showing up in their energy field, like a scroll. If a scroll showed up in someone's energy field, I would translate that symbol into meaning. And so, Jess, it just sounds to me like things are starting to awaken. And it's just practice. It is just practice, yes. It's funny. I had another student at one time, and she said partway through a course that she'd expected it to be like a lightning bolt, and a lightning flash would go on in her reality, and all of a sudden she would miraculously suddenly have all of these amazing psychic powers, and it all just switch on like that. It's not really like that. I don't know if there's anyone that it's like that, so in my courses, I'm giving you techniques, and the techniques are teaching you. It's kind of like they're giving you ways of steering the system, focusing, holding the controls of the system. So don't lose heart. Keep on practicing. All right, I think I've got time for one more question. So he said, there's a number of psychics in the world. Some have the ability to read energy. Others can read and write. Others can manipulate energy. We've just been talking about manipulating energy. And when he says read and write, I think he's meaning like channeled writing, automatic writing. And he says maybe not like Jesus, but they are able to heal and make subtle changes in the energies. Yes? How can people recognize those who offer psychic services who later use their clients' energetic information to alter the field and do harm unless they're paid? I would just say go with your gut instinct, because we can all, a psychic who's like that feels it. I'm sure it set the hair on end, on the back of your neck. You can tell when somebody's not in integrity. So trust your gut, no matter what they say. I remember once, I did for fun. It was a few years, it was probably 17 years ago, maybe longer. And some of my friends, they were just newly married. It was before they had any children. And we were at like a farmer's market or something. And there was a psychic tent, and they wanted to go to this psychic. And, so they did. And the psychic gave them a reading. And then they encouraged me to go. And I was like, oh, but I did for fun. And the psychic said to me, your energy is black. And you need to give me $100 to clear your energy. And give me $100 and I'll do it for you. And I said, well, thank you, but I can see my own energy field. And it looks pretty good to me. I meditate every day. I clean it out every day. I can see it. And she said, oh, no, you can't do this on your own. You need me. You need to give me $100. So, that's just a personal, I don't really know what the point of sharing that is, apart from to say, there are people out there. There are people out there who are charlatans. And she was so not psychic, she couldn't even see that I was psychic. So there are people who will do that. And all I can say is use your gut instinct. Listeners, you've been tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. Tonight's show has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed talking to you about the energy of 2020. In fact, I'd kind of like to do a bit more of that. I'd like to do a bit more of sharing what's going on with the energies. And so maybe we'll have that as a regular thing that we do. All right, well, I have to say goodbye. And we'll be back next week from 7 to 8 Pacific time.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesley PHILLIPS.com. That's drlesliephillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again.